How's it going today, guys? I want to talk about, is the Ford Bronco Sport or the Ford Bronco Sport Badlands worth it? The answer is probably. That's the whole video. Have a good day. Alright, so on a real note, I want to talk about if the Ford Bronco Sport Badlands or the Ford Bronco Sport in general is worth both the money and the time and the performance and just worth it as a vehicle, okay? So we bought our Ford Bronco Sport back early in 2021. It was one of the original Ford Bronco Sports that was used on a dealership showroom in California, one of the high-end dealerships. And when we were out there visiting family, we decided we needed a new vehicle, and I dug deep and looked hard until I came across this one, okay? This is, I mean, we're talking so long ago that there was like a couple hundred people in the world that owned Bronco Sports at the time, and the pages were simply empty, okay? So when we were on Facebook forums, like, I recognized anybody that was posting because there was that few. You didn't see them on the road. It was a great time, okay? We were the first ones ever to cross-country overland or cross-country road trip a Bronco Sport, and that's because we bought it in California and had to drive it back to Ohio. So we've been through the mountains and rivers and, you know, where the wildfires were at. We've been all over the place with it. We've literally had it in every single terrain, from rain to snow to, like I said, sand to rocks to everywhere, okay? We have really been the forefront of pushing the Bronco Sport to the limits. And that being said, I'm talking about a stock Bronco Sport. No lift, no change in anything. So that's why I want to talk about, is it worth it? Clearly, we use ours for emergency response, and that puts us in a lot of different situations where we need things like all-wheel drive and, you know, different options. You had a range of packages that you could buy, and ultimately from the base model, you're talking about a street-driven daily driver. I mean, it's an inline 3-cylinder engine, but it comes with everything you need to have good fuel economy, a great riding car, and all around something that, you know, you can commute with every single day and be comfortable and look amazing. From there, you know, all of your middle packages through here, they're all going to focus on upgrades. You know, a nicer interior, maybe wireless chargers, you know, driving assist, and so on and so forth. What a lot of people like to talk about is the Badlands, which is what we have back here, is the Badlands, because it's supposed to be your top performance. Now, when you think performance, you need to decide what you want as an individual for a vehicle, okay? And the reason I say that is, yes, the Badlands does come with an upgraded inline 4 2.0-liter turbo engine, comes with all-wheel drive lockers, and so on and so forth. But unless you're going to off-road or go down trails or so on, you don't really need a Badlands, and that's the reality of it. You know, we're going to have decreased fuel economy and just a lot of stuff that most, and I mean like literally 99% of owners, are never going to use. Okay, don't buy a higher badge just because it's a higher badge. Pick what you want, okay? When we look into our Badlands, we have things like neoprene seats, and this is so they can take abuse and get soaking wet and muddy and be wiped off. We have rubber floors, so that way, you know, if you do get in and spill something or you're muddy, you can wipe them down. Things like that don't necessarily benefit you on your day-to-day activity. So choose what you're going to use your vehicle for, and that's ultimately the first step to buying any vehicle, is what do you want. That's the reason when you look around my yard, well, not my yard, my driveway, I have things like the Bronco Sport Badlands that we use for emergency response. I have a slammed Chrysler 300 that is just really a show and go enjoy your weekend drive. I have a Dodge Dually, which can actually pull trailers and be used for hauling stuff and so on. I believe in purpose-built vehicles. I don't understand the people that buy two of the same vehicle for your family. Why do people own two Bronco Sports that are identical for a husband and wife? I don't know. In my opinion, own an SUV, own a car, so that way you can enjoy both whenever you want. That's just my opinion, okay? But the first thing you need to do is figure out how you're going to use the vehicle, where you're going to use the vehicle, and how much it's going to be driven, okay? Looking at performance for $1 for what we wanted. And what we were looking at was an overland vehicle, something we could take from our house, down a trail, to a campsite, and then back home. And then, you know, obviously we use it for emergency response. But the big thing for $1 for performance, the Bronco Sport Badlands absolutely dominates everything on the market. That being said, I love and absolutely would love a Toyota 4Runner, but they're way more expensive, okay? I thought the Subaru that they were coming out with for their little off-roady Subaru, whatever it wasn't out at the time. But again, it was more expensive than buying the Bronco Sport Badlands. When I love Jeeps. I would love to own a newer 4-door Jeep. Here's the reality. For the base model, the lowest model Jeep, it was 40 grand, and I got the highest model Bronco Sport on the market for 40 grand. And now we go into, you know, the actual components of the Jeep. So let's go talk about that a little bit and why I think they are great, okay? Now again, our Bronco Sport gets used and abused. To my knowledge, we are one of the top, or the highest miles on a Bronco Sport out there right now. We're up at, what, 34,000? And that being said, my wife and I both work from home. That's 34,000 miles specifically on traveling or, well, emergency response calls, okay? But we do a lot of big trips because of that. So, you know, we're getting to a point where a lot of things need to get replaced, filters and windshield wipers and all of this stuff. But we've really, like I said, we've really used and abused it to the limits that anyone else has with the Bronco Sport. Going through some things, like I said, we have these neoprene seats, and they are comfortable. That's one of the big things that I looked for when we look for a vehicle. I said we take a lot of long trips. A seat needs to be comfortable, and these seats are, okay? They are heated seats. They, you know, they're nice bolster, you know, side bolstered seats so that way you sit in tight, you're not moving around and so on. And it was just really an important aspect for me. Overall, I needed to be comfortable in the vehicle with the way it's driven. When I sit down in the seat, when I grab the steering wheel, it better be comfortable, and it is, okay? Looking at the steering wheel, you can see the shape. I mean, it's nice. It's not too big. It's a smaller steering wheel, but you know, your hands fit right in here beautifully. I have electronic selectors. I'm not going to call them paddle shifters, guys. It's a selector, okay? It's an automatic transmission, and you're simply saying, am I allowed to go up a gear? Am I allowed to go down a gear? But all you're doing is manually asking the transmission to shift. Going through some of the stuff in here, I mean, it's just, the detailing's nice, the nice little pinstripes around are nice, but I'm not going to go too deep into the individual components because I have done that in some of my previous videos, like my 1 year review. I just want to talk about performance-wise. In this vehicle, in the Badlands, I have not only the range of GOAT modes, or the go over any terrain modes that they offer, which cover things like rock crawling and sand and slippery for snow and so on, but it also has the option to manually turn on things like your electric lockers and your 4-wheel drive. And one of the cool things about this is it has trail cruise control, which will creep you forward at like 2-3 miles an hour. Love-hate relationship with that, but it's not bad, guys. For the dollar, and that's really what I want to talk about, is the Bronco Sport worth it, right? So is the Bronco Sport worth it? That's the big question with this video. Is your dollar being spent in the right spot if you buy a Bronco Sport? I believe it is, okay? I believe dollar for performance, or how much you're going to spend towards something for what you're going to get out of it, the Bronco Sport is the king right now, okay? The little turboed 3 or 4-cylinder engine, which means you're getting great fuel economy. It handles absolutely spectacular, especially in the snow. There was a few owners that had issues with the snow. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a turboed engine. You have all the torque you possibly want available when you put your foot down. So if you get on the snow and you absolutely put your foot into the floor, you're not going to keep traction. It's turboed. But if you're gentle with it, if you're smooth with everything, it's one of the best driving vehicles that I've driven in the snow. And that being said, I've had, trucks with snow tires and very specific vehicles, but this is on the stock tires that they gave us with it. I'm personally not a fan of these stock tires. We're about to change them out because I think a 17-inch tire at that skinniness, or how skinny, how wide the tire is, how skinny it is, you don't have a lot of options for off-roading or heavier terrain applications. People don't make tires for it. There's no tires out there for off-roading or trailing at 17 at that skinny. I've made a video about this, and a lot of people try to argue with me and say, they have tires for 17s. No, they don't. You're just putting in 17s, you're not putting in the width, and at that width, all you have is car tires, so I don't want car tires on my, Badlands that we take off trails and search and rescue stuff. I can't use it, okay? Some of the options that we've added on to ours, like the roof rack, these are the Yakima crossbars that come from, we bought them directly from Ford at the time. I can tell you right now, the crossbars need to be universal. The running boards, or the what runs down the top of the vehicle that you attach the crossbars to. They're not parallel, so they need to be able to adjust depending where you want to put those at. We bought the absolute longest roof rack available on Amazon at the time. And, oh, by the way, Ford has turned our vehicle into an emoji. They haven't officially said that, but they don't offer that roof rack. And we were the only ones and first ones to put that on there. And when they did, they took the picture from our vacation and they put blue packages up on top. It was our blue canvas. Just give us credit, guys. I mean, come on now. If you're going to use our images to make something, just simply give me some damn credit. This isn't the first time this happened. We have a orange Miata, and I used to live next to Irvine Mazda headquarters, Mazda USA headquarters, and then they came out with a 30th anniversary color that replicated my Miata's color to the tint, to the T, and they said, we just came up with it based on our yellow. No, you didn't. Just give people credit. You don't have to be original with everything. Just give them credit, damn it. So that's my frustration, okay? But ultimately, yes, I think it's worth it. I think, there's enough luggage room in the back. We keep the seats folded down for the canine. There's enough room for a canine in the back. There's enough room for, 4 people to sit comfortably in this for traveling or your daily commute. I think for the dollar, you can't beat it, okay? And again, that being said, it's like the lowest stockist model of Jeep is going to compare to the most expensive model of Bronco Sport. I think if you're ever going to buy a car at any point in time, you need to go out and drive them, and you need to drive a series of them. Okay, if you like the Bronco Sport, don't go out and just drive the first Bronco Sport. If you want a Badlands, go drive a Badlands. If you want, if you want a base model, drive a base model. If you want an Outer Banks, go drive an Outer Banks and compare it to the other ones. Because, like, when we went to buy this, one of the dealerships we talked to, I said I only want a Badlands and I only want to test drive a Badlands. And I kept saying, well, just test drive do we have this base model? Just test drive this. Test drive this. Has completely different suspension, completely different drivetrain, has completely different everything. Like this comes with a factory lift and the other one didn't. It doesn't help me to drive something I'm not going to buy. But go out there and compare things, okay? And drive, go to Subaru and drive their Forester. Go to, go drive things. Go drive everything you can. Go sit in some seats and figure out what you enjoy best. And remember to keep your use in focus, okay? Your use is everything. If all you're doing is daily commuting from home to work every day and you don't take long trips, sure, you can get away with a less comfortable vehicle and whatever. But if you're taking long trips, things like fuel economy, or especially if you're overlanding, if you're going out and overlanding, so from your driveway to a campsite and back to your driveway, you need to seriously consider things like fuel economy and fuel storage. How what's your capacity, and can you put your luggage in here, and so on and so forth. You have to really consider these things. So if you're going to buy a Bronco Sport, make sure you join the Facebook forums. We're very active on there. We have a great time on there. If you're watching this video and this was beneficial to you and you are thinking about it now, make sure you give me that subscribe and that video like. Those really help me out, guys. That's the reality of it. I can have 10 million people watch my videos, and if nobody subscribes, Facebook simply says no one likes my stuff and doesn't help me out at all. So give me a subscription. Most importantly, no matter what you're driving, I don't care if it's a car or a motorcycle, or you go out and buy a Bronco Sport, get out there and go adventuring. Get out there and see some nature. There's nature right in your backyard. Even if you live in a city, some of the most beautiful nature I've ever seen has been like the outskirts of Washington D.C. recently, or like Niagara Falls is cool, but 30 minutes down the road there's a bunch of inland waterfalls that are pretty cool to look at. So there's nature around every single one of us, okay? So get out there and explore and have fun, and most importantly, have a good day.